Bathurst boy, Phil Cole, Bathurst boy. So we're delighted to be in here for the support classes as we head into those this afternoon after an amazing qualifying session. What a time from Mika Salo, and what a session with those two safety cars, or two red flags coming out. And we hope that Jason Bright is okay, because obviously it took him a while to get out of his Audi there at the top of the mountain. So we're heading into a couple of races here, the Improved Production Race 1 and the Radical Australia Race 1. Now, they were listed over 10 laps for the Improved Production cars and 12 laps for the Radical Australia cars. We will wait and see whether they have been cut at all, because they did add an extra 15 minutes or so to that qualifying session. Well, firstly, Terry Nightingale, very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Phil. Great to be here at Mount Panorama once again.
Now, you've been out there on the circuit, recently repaved. Bathurst Regional Council and their contractors have done a job on that. How was it out there in the HQ this morning?
Oh, look, it was pretty hairy, you know. A lot of the guys probably playing for keeps in this one, of course. We saw the early safety car with that big incident over the top of the mountain, but a great job by all the officials to get that cleaned up, and really looking forward to race number 2. And
Pilkington, who set the fastest lap of the race, used your door there at one stage during the event.
Well, he nearly used the door. He would have if I hadn't have been had a little bit of wits about me and had to run a little bit wide at turn 1, but it's all good. We'll get him back in the next one.
And Gary O'Brien here as well. Gary, great to have you back at Mount Panorama.
Thanks, Phil. Good morning to you. Good morning, Terry. Good morning, everyone. And it's great to be back home again.
All right, now let's get down to the grid as they've lined up here for the Improved Production Car Race 1. And Gary, we'll let you run through the order.
Yeah, well, it's no surprise to see that on pole position in the Fenot Dunlop Ford Falcon BF is Ray Hislop. We know him from past performances being very quick. We've had a couple already in trouble. Car 62's pulled up down on Conrod Straight, and the event sponsor from Donut King, Tony Alford, has come into the pits in the number 54 Holden Monaro. So those two have got problems. On the front row alongside Hislop is a very mean-looking Toyota Celica Turbo. It's got the rising sun on the roof of the car. Lee Forrest has been to every Nationals event. He's been to every one of these big one-off events as well. From Tasmania, as is Ray Hislop. So we've got Tasmanians on the front row, a Western Australian in Matt Cherry in the Holden Monaro on the second row, and the first of New South Wales guys, Anthony Loscalpo, in his Commodore R8 Club Sport is on P4. P5, Warren Millen in the Wake Up Australia Club Sport as well is the next one. Phil Ray Hislop's missing, so we've got only Lee Forrest on the front row on his own. Now, they were having some problems with the Falcon yesterday, that it was leaning out midway in mid-range, and the time reflected that. He did a 27.68, but that car's done 22s here, so obviously there has been a drama. The field goes all the way around the corner as they line up to take the start of this one, and we are running over 10 laps according to the timing monitor. So as we run back through the field, a big field, 40, well, we're saying now 44 cars rather than 47. Still a big field, Terry.
Yeah, definitely. We always see big fields here at Mount Panorama with the Improved Production Car class, and really looking forward to this one. If you enjoy your motoring, it doesn't matter if you're a Holden or a Ford man, or enjoy your Japanese imports or even your European cars, there's a little bit of something for everyone in this field as we wait for the green flag to wave at the back of the grid. And oh no, we've got a problem for car number 67, and that's the Mazda RX-7 of Bruce Henley. So Bruce again has had issues with this RX-7, and he's had to pull the car off. Now, we may get a delayed start here, guys.
I think we have a delayed start. They're flashing orange up on the lights near the starter's rostrum. So, therefore, we're going to have a delayed start. Now, you might ask the question, what are improved production cars? Well, basically, the category started as road registered. So whatever you could get registered to drive on the road, you could race. And as a consequence of that, of course, everyone had to go and get it registered, but you never ever drove it on a road. So they actually took away that condition that it had to be registered. It had to be able to be registered was the next thing. They called them club cars for quite a few years, and of course in the end we've now called it improved production. But basically whatever you can do legally on the road to a car, you can do to these and race them. So if you've got like a 120Y, you can put a 1600 turbo engine in it. Multiplication factor takes up to about 3.4 litres, but all in all it's still what you can run on the road.
So we're seeing the quick lift there at the moment, retrieving one of those cars. As we look down Pitt Straight, there are a lot of holes, positions that haven't been taken up by cars, so it'll be be very interesting to see who's missing and why. They obviously qualified for their positions, but in front of us here, we've got at least 3 or 4 cars that are missing from their particular grid spots.
Well, you can imagine if these had to be road registered and anyone drove up here, they wouldn't be driving them home if they couldn't get them to the grid line. So that's another criteria of not doing that, because accidents do happen, as Terry will attest to, and you don't want to have to take your beautifully road registered car and put it on a train or something to get it home.
They had this published as being 10 laps. As Gary mentioned, it shows 10 laps on the board, but at the moment we are losing time, so we could end up with a situation where they end up taking a lap or 2 out of this race. We'll wait and see. Now, you mentioned the Donut King car, Gary. It went down the pit lane and it is lined up now, ready to go racing, but we'll be waiting for the whole field to go through before it gets out there.
Well, that's right. It was in the production class for quite a while, that car. There was Barry Naismith ran one as well. They were a pair of GTS coupes, as they're referred to, because they're the 2-door variant of the Club Sport, and quite a quick car. And I think you remember back in the day, GT Performance was where they lived, not GT Production, and days of a very quick green Club Sport came up here and won a couple of races as well, with beating the Evos in the day. But as we look down, there's quite a few classes, of course. There's the open class, which we see up the front of the class. We've got under 2 litre and over 2 litre. Under 2 litre car, the quickest one there would be Scott Hunter, I would suggest, in the Toyota. He did a very quick time. He got into position 13, believe it or not. So he beat a lot of big V8s, and well, we knew that would be the case. But how quick is cars down the straight? Ray Hislop last year just touched on 293 kilometres an hour down Conrod.
Now, Henley's car 67, as you can see, the quick lift making its way along pit straight there at the moment. So that car has been retrieved. Very disappointing for him. And we can tell you that obviously they've been sitting there, Gary, for a while. So a bit of heat getting into these cars. And will they be able to get them away cleanly?
Well, I'd suggest that they may do another warm-up lap. They've been standing too long to just go straight into full noise. Interesting, the track temperature, the guys who were on before us said 46 degrees on track at the moment, so it's getting quite warm and it's going to get hotter. So by this afternoon, when race 2 comes around, we could be looking at temperatures around the mid-50s.
So let's see what happens. We can look at them there. Pole position not taken up at the moment by car 23, Ray Hislop. So it is Lee Forrest who is the car that we could see there.
Yeah, okay. They're going to go to a start.
32nd board, so we are going to a start of this one. And the drivers obviously will be thinking about the fact that they've been collecting heat for about the last 3 or 4 minutes. Just waiting for the green flag there that will be waved, I gather, at the tail, or it probably has been waved already.
So they're sending them on a warm-up lap. So, again, cold tyres. Now, you might say, when it's 50 degrees, how are you going to have cold tyres? We've got Lee Forrest installed on the grid, but manages to get it going. So we've had further dramas here today. The tyre temperature, the hotter the tyre, the better it sticks to the road. It's even though they're treaded tyres, these radials, so they like the warmth in them as well, just like Terry will attest to in HQs. You cold at 50-degree track temperature, and these cars sitting there, they're cold tyres, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, and you know, it doesn't take long to get the heat into the tyres in these sort of conditions, but it is quite easy for the temperature to go down as well, as we see the cars make their way up Mountain Straight for their warm-up lap. And there is Wilson. He's way back in the back of the pack, unfortunately for him, so issues for him in qualifying.
One of the cars that was on the grid, you could basically see some smoke, steam coming from under the bonnet there. So obviously sitting for way too long. He seemed to be very happy about the fact that he was able to head off on a lap of Mount Panorama.
Often when you're racing, the temperature is not as critical as when you're standing still. The longer they stand there, the hotter the cars get. Once you get moving, of course, you've got the airflow coming through the front of the car, that temperature will settle down, or it'll go back down to a normal racing temperature, which is about, what, 120 degrees or something like that?
Oh, with the HQs, we don't like it to run near 100, so around 95, I guess that's about right. But these cars are a little bit more work than a HQ Holden as well. And another thing too, a lot of these cars don't actually have thermo fans, so when they are sitting idling, there's absolutely no cooling at all. They all rely on the cooling to cool the cars down when they're circulating around the circuit.
So we'll be duplicating this program this afternoon. Improved Production Race 2 will be happening at 4 o'clock. Radical Australia Race 2 happening at 4:50. And we do have another race for the HQ Holdens at 2:45 this afternoon. That comes immediately after qualifying 2 and 3 for our 12-hour Liqui cars, and that is going to be a fascinating session at 1:30. After what we saw here this morning, the makes that we've got up at the top of the board, the way the McLaren ran and the Nissan and the Ferrari and the Porsches and the Lambos, they all had it happening this morning, and that was some session, and really does get us ready for a spectacular 12-hour here tomorrow at Mount Panorama, kicking off at 6:15. Well, Gary, you've been here many years at Mount Panorama. You've seen lots of formulas run around the circuit, and it's a great support program that we've got for the 12-hour, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. You know, the good mix. We've got like mini Enduros for HQs and Geminis, an interesting mix of two classes that, in a lap around here are fairly similar. We've got the Improved Production, which is bring what you can legally do to a car and race it here, and of course we've got these U-Butte Radicals here for the first time in the Radical Australia Cup for the first round of their series, which goes across the eastern seaboard with the Shannon's Nationals program. Looking forward to seeing those cars. I actually sort of felt that maybe one of them might push the outright lap record. They got down to an 8.5 yesterday, so they're pretty quick cars.
What are your thoughts on the 2:03 from Mikasalo?
Yeah, that's pretty quick. I think I don't know if it's going to go, if anyone can go quicker now, because the track is going to go away from them a little bit because of the heat, and maybe that might be the benchmark.
Yeah, 2:03.9, that is absolutely blistering pace. And look, we'll see what happens, Gary, because the track's going to rubber up more as well.
It is, but it's going to be a lot hotter.
Yeah, it's going to go both ways, I think. Yeah. It's we might see another 2:03, we might not, but look, the benchmark really is there at the moment, and I think some of these other guys have got a long way to go till they get down into the threes. But geez, how exciting is tomorrow morning going to be when the fuel starts to burn off, cooler conditions? We're really going to see the ultimate lap times out of the cars at that stage, I think.
And qualifying this afternoon, those Class A cars do get 15 minutes on their own at 2:20, so they will have a bit of a clearer track.
Well, we're talking about that before, just the Largo Lamborghini's gone back to Class B, and it was actually the fastest car in the first practice session yesterday. So if that became a grid decider, that car's not in the mix because it won't be out there. We'd won.
Well, we're about to go racing Improved Production cars as they come around, and the Toyota that we can see there at the front of the grid is going to be lining up all on its lonesome there. We don't have anyone starting from provisional pole position, so car 4 is going to be starting on its own from the front row of the grid. It is Lee Forrest from Tasmania, and he's probably delighted about that, Gary, from his point of view, not having someone on your inside when you make the start. It's
probably the oldest car that still runs in this sort of category. It's been around at every Nationals, and Nationals been going quite a few years now, but go back to the mid-90s. So that's and the Nationals is like their one-off championship, I guess, and each year it goes from one state to another, to one track to another. They raced at Morgan Park last year. It was a pretty good event up there, which Hislop ended up winning, beating Dave's. His major opposition there was Dave Scalander in a Commodore, and unfortunately he didn't have a good run in the final, but Hislop won. But others to keep an eye out here, I suggest, would be Justin Wade in that V8 BMW. Look for David Walden in the RX-8, Michael Nagib in the Datsun 1600, the ex-Martin Short car that from South Australia, should be quick. It's a Datsun turboed car. It'll be fairly quick as well. Bob Brewer, Brian Anderson, another BMW, Martin Miller, of course. And then, of course, we go back to the little Toyota in 13th. About to go racing, but we have lost 3 laps. We're going to be doing 7 laps at Mount Panorama as the green flag goes up. So we'll have the start for this one very soon. 7-lap journey, not 10, as was originally published for this one. Improved Production Race 1, and Gary, we're underway. Yeah, Lee Forrest got a good start, always having on the mind what happened earlier. There's been a car stall back in the field, one of the Commodores, the dark blue car. I think it's about number 6 or something, was it? As they go down there, Matt Cherry in second spot as they went through Hellcorn for the first time and head up Mountain Straight. And look at the Monaro now as they power up the Mountain Straight. the Monaro on the inside of the Toyota Celica should take over the lead by the time they get to Griffin Bend.
Yeah, that was Damien Milano with the problem with the VZ Commodore off the line, so he couldn't get the jump and he got stranded, so he's going to have a lot of work to do in this 7-lap sprint race now, as we see Nalgob all the way up into 2nd position in the Datsun 1600, first of the New South Wales boys, and he's actually in 3rd position, because look who leads, Matt Cherry in the Holden Monaro, and we're used to seeing Matt Cherry in the Toyota Starlet, and that's the car that, oh no, that's a problem for Marty Miller at Griffin's Bend, and he's done a good job there to get the car off the circuit, so hopefully we won't see a safety car with that one.
Shouldn't see a safety one. He is off the track behind the concrete, but Matt Cherry leads them across the Western Australian in that Holden Monaro, with Lee Forrest right on his tail as they head towards McPhillamy Park, and already a big gap to P3.
Yeah, very big gap, and you know what? We're not used to seeing this close racing at the front of Improved Production Racing. We're usually seeing Ray Hislop nearly half the straight ahead already, so good to see that there's a little bit of fire at the front at the moment. You'll see the car of Lee Forrest, the Toyota Celica, much quicker down the S's here, all over the back of Cherry, but then you'll see Cherry's V8 Monaro take off in a straight line.
Yeah. Martin Miller, who we saw go off circuit, he started from 11th place in car number 16, and obviously now out as a result of leaving the circuit there at Griffin's, as they make their way now down Conrod Straight, and a great start, as Tez has said, by our race leader there, and look at how they've gapped them so far.
Yeah, definitely huge gap from Lee Forrest to our first New South Welshman of Michael Nagob, and here we go, replay from the start. So have a look at the car on the outside. That's Damien Milano. Great job there from the whole field to miss him. And Wayne Twist goes wide. There's Fuggeter as well in the Nissan Bluebird. And then we had our VH Commodore coming very, very loose right on the outside, and very, very lucky to keep that in a straight line, I think.
Got to feel sorry for the car that was immediately behind that vehicle, Gary.
Yeah, one of the BMWs, I think, it looked like, and he had to come to a complete stop until he got going. But Cherry leads him the first time across the line. A big gap, obviously pulled out some mileage on him down Conrod Straight, with Forrest in 2nd position, and the third one across the line was Scalpo, first of the New South Wales cars. Nagib in 4th spot, then we've got Bob Brewer in 5th, Warren Millett in 6th, they're both in Holden, Justin Wade, David Walden in the RX-8, which we talked about, Brian Anderson and BMW in P9, P10 is Wilson, 11th is McMaster. I would imagine that Hunter has dropped back a little bit because they would have just blown him away on the first couple of laps. He'll come back up towards the front of the field later in the race, I would imagine.
So Brian Anderson up in a 9th position. Great drive from the Targa Racing BMW M3 driver. And Brian, one of the most respected drivers in the field. He's driven in all sorts of different categories in the past. And great to see him working up. I guarantee you Brian will be further up the field as well. He knows that car well and holds his brakes well and looks after his tyres. So keep an eye on that car number 25.
Also, might be worth keeping an eye out on the Wilson Commodore. It's up to P24, I think, and it started at the back of the field, so it's done a good run. You called it when it last one away, and he's flashing his light, so he's keen to get past him. Alford's making up mileage as well. He's just gone past one of the Audi there as they head up towards Griffin Bend, and of course he started from pit lane and would be up to about position, we can't quite see where he is on there. Made up several positions as he, of course they would have all gone past him before he got out onto the track.
47 cars qualified to take the start. Only 40 of them have made it around on that first lap. We had a number that didn't start, but we also had that car of Miller who we lost on lap 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to laugh, but it's not easy for these guys who go to all this effort to come here and have dramas. And of course, part of the experience of coming to a place like Mount Panorama is not so much that you race here, it's the practice and the qualifying. It's laps here. And the more laps you do around this place, the quicker you get.
It's a big shame for the Improved Production guys getting them laps cut, because I was talking to Brian the other night and he was a little bit disappointed they only had 2 10-lappers, but now 1 7-lapper and hopefully a 10-lapper this afternoon. And have a look at Warren Melody. Has a look up the inside of Bob Brewer, the Wake Up Commodore against the Traffic Solutions Commodore. Both very, very high horsepower engines in these things, and let's see what they can do down in the Murray's. As Matt Cherry once right, our race leader runs wide here at Murray's corner, and Lee Forrest goes into the lead.
Yeah,
and Matt Cherry
got
with
a
a problem. I think he's blown his front right tyre, or maybe it's a suspension problem.
Something's happened to that car. It's hanging down on the right-hand side. So a potential race win gone begging as he crawls up towards Hillcorn. Fortunately, he'll be able to take it in the back entrance and get it out of the way.
But he went wide there as he came out of Murray's.
Right front tyre has gone down on that car.
Yep.
So he's going to have his work cut out this afternoon coming from the back of the field to try and make up some ground again. But Lee Forrest now leads this one in the little Toyota Celica Turbo, and he has a healthy about 3.6 second lead over Anthony Loscalpo in the Commodore. And in third spot, of course, we've got McGibb in the Datsun 1600.
Loscalpo with the quickest lap of the race so far, so that was on that second lap at 2:28.21. Also doing a 2:28 Forrest at 2:28.7. And as I say that, Loscalpo up into second place. So at the moment, car 37 really on a move as we watch Forrest drive across the top of the mountain.
Well, it's interesting. Loscalpo's quickest qualifying time was a 31, so he's 3 seconds faster than he was in qualifying.
Another thing you have to remember too, guys, is that the Toyota Celica of Lee Forrest turbocharged. These turbo cars, they don't really like the hot weather. They'd rather it be cool. And as you can see now, I think Anthony Loscalpo might even be catching up to the back of the car of Lee Forrest, and there's the car of Matt Cherry. Gee whiz, isn't that unfortunate for him?
Sets up a great run this afternoon for him as he makes his way through the field.
Well, I hope he's got a couple of onboard cameras, because I'd love to see the footage of that and see where he gets up to in the 10 lapper this afternoon.
Yeah, well, we've got a couple on the hard charge here today as well with Tony Alford, who went from pit lane, and he should be on the monitors by about
33rd place now, so he'll slowly make his way forward as we get through the laps here at Mount Panorama. Problems we can see there for one of the Commodores as well.
Positions 1 and 2 going down in a chase now, Forrest and Loscalpo, and they're almost bumper to bumper as the Commodore reels in the back of the Toyota, heading down to complete this, which will be the third lap of the, and leaving 5 to go. So they've cut 2 laps off this one as Lee Forrest, the Tasmanian, comes through Murray's Corner, heads up over the start-finish line with Anthony Loscalpo just in behind him. Then we've got McGibb not far away as well, so he's making a fairly good impression on him. And at times...
it was about a second slower, Loscalpo, on that lap, but relative to Forrest, he's certainly making the move, as we can see, Terry, as they head up Mountain Straight now. Yeah,
Loscalpo now right in behind of Lee Forrest, nearly in striking distance as they come over the crest of Mountain Straight. Loscalpo pulls out of the draft. He's going to have a look up the inside into turn number 2, and looks like he's going to make the move stick. So Lee Forrest looks like he's struggling big time with straight line speed in that car at the moment. Oh no, but Loscalpo runs wide. This will allow Forrest up the inside. They're going to go side by side into the cutting, and Loscalpo might just pull out of it. I think he does.
Yeah, got the position back.
He's got to think a little bit smart here at the moment, Gary. He knows he's got the straight line speed. Wait till Conrod Straight and get the move done.
Yeah, because this part of the track now up the top of the mountain, the Toyota is going to pull away from the Commodore.
It's interesting, isn't it, where they've both got advantages, one on the way up the mountain, the other on the way down the mountain. And across the top of the mountain, obviously, that Toyota is going to be pretty good too.
Yeah, it's done a lot of miles around here, so there's no doubt that it will know its way around the top of the mountain for sure.
Oh no, Damien Milano in the wall at turn 2.
That'll bring a safety car at this stage.
So hopefully you can get that thing going.
The number 8 Commodore, the one we've seen in a little bit of strife getting off the line and dropped a lot of places. He's got it going, so that's good. So we won't go under safety car. And we'll just carry on with a little bit of bits and pieces hanging off our car, but it'll be all right.
Terry, we might just recap the top 10 as we have it at the moment.
So we've got Lee Forrest leading the race from Anthony Loscalpo. That might change very, very soon as they come down Conrod Straight. Then we have McGibb in 3rd position, Millett in 4th, Wade in 5th, Walden in 6th, Brown in 7th, Anderson in 8th, Wilson 9th, and Elway in 10th. But now we have Loscalpo taking the lead of the race. Exactly what I picked. Wait till Conrod Straight, get the move done. And he's very early on the brakes coming into the kink. Can Lee Forrest get him back on the brakes? And this is allowing the Datsun 1600 driver of McGibb to come back into the race.
Yeah, Michael McGibb's first time in this car that he's just got from the South Australian short and doing a good job. Don't think he's been here before either.
No, definitely. For his first time around Bathurst, he's doing an incredible job as he's definitely catching the back of Lee Forrest's car. And it wouldn't surprise me if Lee Forrest is having some sort of a boost issue where he can't get all the power through the motor, through the transaxle and onto the ground. So there's Damien Milano's car. It's out of the race.
He's parked it in a safe position across on the inside of McPhillamy Park there. As we now watch McGibb put pressure on the back of Forrest as they head up Mountain Straight on this fifth lap with just 3 to go, or less than 3 now, as they head out there. Those 3 have got it in hand. Millet's in 4th position. Justin Wade in the V8 BMW is next. Then we've got the RX-8 of David Walden. Brown in P7 in... he runs wide again, yeah. But he holds on to it this time.
Very taily there for Forrest. It looks like Naguib loses a little bit heading up the mountain, but certainly has pulled a bit coming down. A great move from him from 7th place to be up into 3rd place now.
Sorry, Phil, just a bit of a heart stopper there. Lee Forrest, very, very wide on the entry to the cutting. He's absolutely pushing this little Toyota Celica at the moment, and wouldn't be surprised if he tries to make a run over Skyline at the car of Anthony Loschkelpo.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be close enough. He lost a bit of time just out of Solomon Park there, but he'll make it up as they go down through the S's, and unfortunately they hit Conrod Straight then, and of course the V8 will take over and with its long legs and pull away again.
Just having a look at some of Lee Forrest's lines over the top, they're a little bit different to what you usually see.
He's a lot tighter than what the other guys are. The other guys are running out to the limits of the road, but certainly the Celica driver is hugging. Oh, he's gone. I think he's gone.
I think he's hit the wall.
No. Oh. We were saying how tight he was on the corners.
He's using those tight lines that you were talking about.
Yeah, that wasn't the tight line.
Lee, please, if you can hear us, mate, just come down a little bit. You give me a heart failure up here.
Terry's going into palpitations here. Okay, we're coming down towards the end of the 5th lap, into the chase, and it's Anthony Loschkelpo in the Club Sport R8. Heads away, Forrest in 2nd. They've got away a little bit from Michael Naguib in that Datto, the Datsun 1600. And we look to see how far back Millet would be behind these two, because Millet's car's fairly similar to what Loschkelpo's running, so it'll have the long legs. As we see the saloon car Falcon being lapped, the Rod Lloyd machine.
Coming around to complete lap 5, so there'll be 2 to go. And what can Forrest do about Loschkelpo at the moment, who is in the lead? Going to need to be a lot closer as he makes his way up toward the top of the mountain. Now, what about Naguib? Moved up really well into 3rd place, but has dropped off them. And as I say that, Forrest has done a 2:28.0048 on that lap, which is the quickest lap of the race.
Yeah, Forrest did a 27.9. Well, that's the fastest he's ever been around here, the qualifying lap. So this is as fast as his race pace is anyway. So he's trying really hard. It's we've got to take my hat off to Loschkelpo to find 3 seconds from qualifying to a race. Is a pretty good effort.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a little switch there to turn up the boost in the car of Lee Forrest, and he might have just flicked that for the last couple of laps, because he certainly had the pace up Mountain Straight as he looks around the outside of the cutting, and Lee Forrest definitely has the pace now to do something about Loschkelpo's lead.
Yeah, he's right on him again as we watch him go up towards the top of the climb, and we wait with bated breath to see what happens when he gets down there towards the S's. We don't want to see what we've seen last lap, where he disappeared off the screen and we thought, well, that's the end of one Celica, but he just took a very wide exit. As I say, he does different lines to what we normally see a lot of guys run. And right now he's in a prime position on the top of the mountain. Unfortunately, someone put Conrod Straight in between it and the bottom, and there's not much you can do about that.
Now, looking down our top 10 at the moment, this is the best dice, the dice for 1st and 2nd. Everybody else in the top 10 is fairly well spaced out at the moment, so we will leave them be and keep an eye on this dice as they have a lap and a half to complete at Mount Panorama.
Well, I got a funny feeling that Michael Naguib might lose his 3rd spot to Millet, because Millet's last lap in the last sector was a 2 seconds faster, so there could be a change of position in for the last spot on the rostrum at this stage.
Funny, isn't it, how Naguib came up so fast, looked like he had some speed, and as soon as he got there, he started dropping back.
Yeah, and speaking of dropping back, certainly the long legs of the Commodore, 5.7 litres of it, or 6 litres if it's been pumped a little bit, which looks like it has been. Down to 6 litres, and certainly down in the chase now. This is where Forrest has got to look on the last lap. What can he do around here and probably try and make a last move down at Murray's Corner. Again, Tony Alford in problems coming into the pits. He was on the charge from pit lane start, and obviously his race is done. The Donut King Monaro, and of course the Donut King being Tony Alford, is the one who's backing this race and the one later on today.
Bit of an unfair fight as we head into the final lap of Mount Panorama. At the moment, it's Loschkelpo who is leading from Forrest, and at the moment moment. Naguib still holding on to that third place, but we expect that he may well disappear from there. Car 54 heading into the pits at the moment. Tez, as we see a bit of a pack that is further down at the moment, coming off the top of the mountain.
Yeah, there's plenty of cars here in that little battle, and that was Ondron's House, Shepherd, Manuel, and I think Graham Heath is a little bit further back as well in the Nissan Pulsar. But, Lee Forrest very sideways out of Griffin's Bend. He's certainly putting on for the crowd, and he's got the run as well. Around the outside of the cutting, they're going to go side by side. Absolutely hair-raising stuff. And it's Logistical who's going to keep that one. And I'll tell you what, Lee Forrest is a little bit unlucky that last lap around because he got a little bit held up by the lap traffic coming out of Hill Corner.
He deliberately takes that tight line because the car's getting out of the car actually loses traction off the back. So for whatever reason, he thinks that normally everyone runs wide like Scarpo, but he's running in tight, and he
nearly punched it up the inside, didn't he, and take the place. So let's watch here. Can Forrest do anything about Los Scalpo as they make their way off the top of the mountain? We know the speed is going to go to the Commodore as they make their way down Conrod Straight. So Forrest needs to get in front somewhere here.
Forrest really needs to get right up behind the rear bumper of Anthony Logistical.
Oh, we've got one off in McPhillamy. Someone's gone through the sand. We can't see for the dust at this stage, but someone is parked there.
It's an E30.
It's Naguib,
yeah,
P3 guy.
No,
yeah, in the Datsun.
Wow.
Yeah, he's gone in fairly deep there, so we'll they might flag this at the end of this lap, and of course
that's
the BMW.
Yeah, well, they're coming down for the checker anyway, Gary. This is the final lap of the race. So we're just waiting for them to come down now, not far from the finish, as Los Scalpo continues to lead.
And
here
Lee
comes
Forrest
with a good look, but not enough room there. And I'd say this one is going to hold with Los Scalpo taking it out.
Well, I wouldn't back on that because Murray's Corner's coming up, and Lee Forrest will have a look here on Anthony Los Scalpo.
And they've got traffic.
And they've got traffic. Forrest down the inside. Can he get there? He's gone.
He's got it done.
He's done it. No.
As they hit the line, the Commodore with the power driving off the line. There's the checkered flag. And what a great finish. Boy, that was spectacular stuff from Forrest. Taking a great look, but not having the drive out of Murray's to be able to get to the line first. So Los Scalpo just put the boot into the Commodore.
Yeah, and the tight line that Forrest had wouldn't allow him the speed that Los Scalpo would have had on board, because taking the wider line through the corner is carrying more road speed. And what a great win for Anthony Los Scalpo from New South Wales in that HSV Club Sport. Takes the win over Lee Forrest in the Toyota Celica. Warren Millett in third spot, and of course Brown was the fourth car across the line, and that's a good run from him, because I think, I'm just trying to see where he started, he's well back down. Chris Brown started 25th and in that and made it all the way up to fourth place. That's a great drive. And of course Justin Wade in fifth, David Walden in sixth, and we've got Brian Anderson seventh, and Elway eighth, Wilson ninth, McMaster in 10th, Muir 11th. Just seeing where the best of the under 2 litre cars was. There's none in the top 20. So Scott Hunter's obviously had a drama. He was easily the fastest, about 9 seconds faster than his class rivals. So there's a good chance that it could be Richard Mork, actually. There's none of them showing up on our timing at all, I don't think.
Brian Anderson come across the line there with his hand out the window, finishing in 7th position. I think he'll be pretty happy with that result. Brian's a very lovable guy, and there goes one of his old cars across the line as well of Wayne Twist.
What a shame for Naguib to be in third place on the last lap and then to beach it up there at McPhillamy Park.
Well, I think Millett was catching him. We could see that. So how close they were at that stage, I'm not really sure, because we were concentrating on our leaders. Yeah.
So some highlights coming up. There we go with the start. That followed a car being retrieved on the quick lift, and a lot of attentive drivers managing to get around car 8, which was a travelling chicane there at the start as we got underway. So then we headed off with car 8 going around at Griffin's Bend, Milano. We'd already had a car park itself up there on lap 1. I think it was Miller who parked himself. And then we had great highlights from these two right the way through. Forrest and Los Scalpo doing a great job. Forrest trying to utilise a little bit of benefit on the way up the mountain. There you go with Naguib putting it into the sand at the top of the mount. That happened on the last lap. Took him out of third place, and our race leaders, first and second place, went through to take it out. Here's the dive coming down the inside. This was impressive, but then what power from car 37. Just got it down, the rubber down very quickly and took the win. But they'd both be very happy with that result. Millett into third place. And we had a couple of drivers who moved up well. Car 7, Gary, moved up nicely from 16th place on the grid to finish in 5th place.
Justin Wade in the BMW, the V8 one. That's basically a standard motor in that car, so it's a pretty good effort.
And a few other cars had nice moves forward as well. You've already mentioned a few of those.
Car 86, Chris Brown. We thought put in a sterling effort to start out of position 25 and make his way all.
So very impressive, and we will be seeing them out there again this afternoon. Improved production race gets underway at 4 o'clock. We're going to go to a break. We'll be back shortly with the Radical Australia Race 1.